All right, so we're diving deep today into Romans 6, 1-2.
You got it.
And our listeners already know this passage.
Oh, yeah.
But we've got a whole bunch of sermons from pastors who really found some unique angles
Yeah.
to make this passage
Right,
come to
yeah.
life for their congregation.
Exactly. And I think, they're really going beyond the typical grace versus sin debate.
Right.
And really trying to figure out how to make this passage resonate with people today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So hopefully, our listeners can steal some ideas
Absolutely.
from these pastors. One that really caught my eye was this pastor who talked about dead languages.
Oh, interesting.
To explain being dead to sin.
I like that.
It's like, how does a language that you don't understand impact you? It doesn't
affect you with that.
You don't respond to it.
Nope.
It has no power over you.
Exactly.
And he's saying that's how sin should be in a Christian's life.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
It has no power.
It's powerless.
Yeah.
And the best part is,
Okay.
he didn't just talk about it.
Right.
He actually had his seminary students go out to a graveyard.
What?
And talk to a tombstone.
Oh, wow.
Like, shout compliments at it.
Seriously.
Hurl insults at it.
That's amazing.
Anything to get a reaction.
I love that.
And of course, they didn't get a reaction.
No, because
the dead don't care.
Yeah, dead don't care.
And it's such a powerful way to just drive home the point.
Yeah.
That we shouldn't be responding to sin either.
Absolutely.
Like, sin is dead to us.
Oh.
We are dead to it.
That's so good. I love
that he actually had them do that.
Yeah.
It's one thing to hear about it in a sermon, but to actually experience that lack of response, that sticks with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes beyond just the intellectual.
Right.
It becomes an experience.
Yep.
And I think that's what makes a really memorable
and
impactful illustration.
And it's something that you could adapt for your own context, too.
Absolutely.
Like, what's a local landmark or custom that you could use that would evoke that same feeling
That's good.
of irrelevance and powerlessness?
I like it.
Now, another pastor took a completely different approach.
Okay.
He drew a parallel between the freedom we find in Christ and the Jewish sabbatical year.
Oh, wow.
In the Old Testament.
Interesting.
The year where slaves are set free, debts are forgiven.
Right.
And he was using that to illuminate God's grace.
Yeah.
It's such a smart way to bridge the gap between the Old and New Testaments.
For sure.
And it just resonates so deeply with the human longing for freedom.
Absolutely.
It's not just about forgiveness, it's about liberation.
It is.
Like, those slaves were released from their physical bonds.
Yeah.
We are released
We are.
from the spiritual slavery of sin.
Right.
And it's a powerful reminder that our freedom isn't something we earn.
It's a gift.
It's a gift.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another key theme that emerged from these sermons.
Right.
The tension between grace and righteousness.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking that grace just gives us a free pass.
Yeah, you can just keep sinning.
To keep sinning.
Yeah.
And these pastors were very intentional
I like it.
about addressing that.
Good.
One pastor used a really interesting analogy.
Okay.
He said grace is the vehicle.
Okay.
Righteousness is the destination.
I love that.
You need the car to get where you're going.
That's good.
And it's not about using grace as a shield to keep sinning.
It's the fuel.
It's about using it as the fuel to move towards living a righteous life.
I love that analogy.
It's so simple. But it really clarifies that relationship.
Yeah.
It takes away that either or and shows how they work together.
Exactly.
It's a really good one.
And I think just about everyone can relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, who doesn't understand needing a car to get somewhere?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Now, another pastor tackled this same tension.
Okay.
But he took a much bolder approach.
Oh.
He actually compared the church to a sports team.
Oh, wow.
He was not afraid to challenge the idea
I like it.
that grace means anything goes.
Right.
He argued that just like on a sports team, there are standards, there are expectations.
There are.
And sometimes you need a coach
to
push you back in line.
You need that accountability.
It's a bold comparison.
It is.
But it makes you think
does.
about the importance of accountability in the church.
Sure.
It really does. And I don't think he's advocating for harshness or judgment.
No.
But I think he is emphasizing the need for correction and growth within a community of believers.
Absolutely.
And I think that sports analogy is so effective.
It is.
Because it taps into that shared experience of striving for excellence.
Yeah.
Both individually and as a team.
Exactly.
It's about supporting each other, holding each other accountable, pushing each other to be our best.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's good. And, it's not just about pointing out each other's mistakes.
Right.
It's about providing that guidance and support.
Yeah.
Just like a good coach.
Right.
Helps their team improve. We're called to help each other grow in our faith.
And that brings me to another analogy that one of the pastors used.
Okay.
He compared a believer's relationship with Christ to a slave who chooses to stay with their master.
Wow.
Even after being freed.
That's a bold one.
That is a bold one.
Especially in our modern context. Yeah.
But I think if we dig a little deeper,
there's
something really profound there.
I think so too.
Because, typically we think of freedom as being completely independent.
Right.
But this pastor is suggesting that true freedom is actually found in our willing surrender to Christ.
That's like a paradox.
It is a paradox.
Yeah.
But
it's a paradox.
It's a paradox that's at the heart
of the Christian faith.
Exactly. And it makes you think about the nature of true love and devotion. Like, we choose to follow Christ, not out of obligation.
Not out of fear.
Not out of fear, but out of this deep love and gratitude for what he's done for us.
And that choice makes our freedom so much more meaningful.
Exactly.
It's not just the absence of constraints.
Right.
It's embracing this new way of living, this new allegiance.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It is a beautiful image.
And it speaks to that transformative power of grace.
Absolutely.
It's not just about being forgiven.
Right.
It's about being empowered to live a new life, a life that is aligned with God's will.
And, it ties back to that concept of positional truth that we talked about earlier.
Right.
We're declared righteous, not because we've earned it, but because of Christ's sacrifice.
Exactly.
And then that positional righteousness empowers us to actually live righteously.
Yes, and it's not about trying to earn God's favor through our good works.
Yeah, it's about responding to his grace with a heart that desires to please him.
Exactly.
And that's where the real freedom is.
Yes, where the real freedom is.
Yeah.
And that's freedom from legalism.
Yes.
That's freedom from
the burden.
The burden of trying to earn our salvation.
That's right.
It's the freedom to love God and love others without any fear or reservation.
Without reservation.
It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
How these pastors took this passage that we're so familiar with and found such fresh and engaging ways to present it.
It's really inspiring.
It is inspiring.
It shows that even most well-known scriptures can still surprise us and challenge us.
Yeah, and I love how they use these everyday examples and analogies to make these complex theological concepts accessible.
Like the dead languages and the sports team.
Yeah, like who would have thought that a dead language or a sports team could illustrate this passage?
It just shows that, inspiration can come from the most unexpected places.
It really can.
And it's about, connecting the dots between seemingly unrelated ideas.
And it challenges us to think outside the box.
Absolutely.
When we're preparing our own sermons and lessons.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It really does challenge us to get creative.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Romans 6, 1-2, what really stood out to you?
I think for me it was that recurring theme of freedom.
Okay.
Yeah, we often talk about freedom from sin.
Right.
But these pastors really brought to life what that freedom actually looks like.
Yeah, they did.
They showed how grace empowers us to live righteously.
Right.
And it's not out of obligation. It's out of that love and gratitude.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they did it in such creative ways.
I know. Who would have thought?
The dead languages.
A dead language, or at the sports team.
A sports team, right?
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
It is.
Yeah, so pastors and Bible study leaders.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
With all this newfound knowledge.
How are you going to breathe new life?
Yeah, how are you?
Into this passage.
Make this passage
congregation
relevant and engaging.
Yeah. How are you going to use those analogies?
How are you going to use those analogies?
The storytelling.
The storytelling.
The humor.
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah, and just make it real for people.
Make it real for people.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. So we hope this deep dive
yeah.
has sparked some creativity.
Absolutely.
And given you some tools to make these tough theological concepts relatable.
Relatable and engaging.
That's engaging.
That's what we're all about here on The Deep Dive.
That's what we're all about.
Until next time.
Until next time.